within the Chickasaw Nation. The headquarters is located in Ada, and it's just as much a part of my life as anything else. You don't even almost think about it, it's just who I am, until you find yourself having to kind of answer to it, and then you're like, oh, I have to think about like what exactly that means to be a part Native American and also white, and dealing with that. With the work I've been doing, it's kind of about the commercialization of Native Americans and how it seems that stereotypes are reinforced with this commercialization. The idea of putting a feather on something instantly makes it Native. And what is that exactly trying to say to the consumer? People buy it thinking maybe they're being culturally sensitive or trying to educate their children or whatever with these sorts of themes, but I feel like they miss the point because they're buying stuff that isn't even necessarily made by natives. A lot of my toys that I've been repackaging with this satirical thing where I'm sort of calling the object itself into question, they're not even made like here. A lot of them are like, they say clearly on them somewhere like made in China. So like how these items can be called cultural relics, but yet be so far removed from the culture that they're no longer really anything other than just junk that you're filling your home with. The Spotlight Artist proposal that I had proposed was this idea of sort of becoming one of these cultural items that you often see sold at Trading Post. And I was inspired by a package of toys that kind of resemble Little Green Army Men, but it was supposed to be like Custard's Last Stand. And it's being sold as if it's some sort of like educational tool because it says authentic, so that instantly gives it credibility, which we all know is not the case. But I thought about those toys and I thought about becoming one of those. So the piece was to come up with some stereotypical poses, old and new, and have it where they kind of almost reflect each other as you go from the old to new. And all the while I'll be painted completely red, clothing, face, and even my hair will be done red. So I'll end up trying to take on that look of that toy.
I was immediately drawn to Zach's proposal because it was so different than everything else. It was performance-based, and it also seemed very different than his other work that he has done. It seemed like it could be a big opportunity for growth in his practice and the chance to do something different, but still following some of the themes and some of his past interest and building on that.
So I like the fact that it was, in terms of medium, it was something different from a lot of the other proposals. And I thought that the idea of looking at some of the objects that are often associated with Native American culture and looking at them in a kind of critical and thoughtful way was a really good idea. But it also, there's sort of an element of a sense of humor about it, and I always like that in works of art. I think it's a way to engage an audience, even if it is sort of you're dealing with something that's kind of difficult subject matter, something that might make people a little uncomfortable. Having the element of humor there, I think, is always a nice thing.
The idea of actually doing the performance was this idea of bringing me into the work more. With my previous work, the me part of it was the text on the back, my reaction more or less to the object, but now I've decided to become the object. So in doing that, I thought taking on the role would put me through kind of physical distress. I'm going to have to paint myself in this material that's going to make me feel sticky all day and uncomfortable. And the idea of taking on that stereotype is going to physically put my body through some pain.
He does take a lot of care in the craft of making sure it looks polished, making sure that everything is kind of done just so. And, that's important in work, to work like this, for people to be able to approach it and understand it, that there's this nice level of craft and polish. It makes it a little bit more approachable, something like this kind of what some people might find stranger in a performance, if they can see that there's a lot of care and polish taken, I think they'll take it a little more seriously. So I like that he has that level of professionalism in what he's doing.
I've done a lot of performance work in my background, but never for art, and I'm really excited about trying that and incorporating that into my work, because I've seen some really great artists do some work like that in the past, like James Luna, a Native American artist that does a lot of performance work that I'm just really interested in. Like every time I get a chance to see some of his work, I check it out. And even a former professor of mine, Gerald Clark, will do a lot of that kind of like performance work that it just kind of acts as an inspiration for me to try that, to bring myself into the artwork itself.